66 million years ago, the Earth did not wait for a rock from space to begin its execution of the giants. Deep beneath the Indian plate, a tectonic nightmare was waking up. This wasn't a single volcanic peak exploding. It was the planet's crust literally tearing itself apart. Imagine a world where the very ground you stand on becomes your executioner. This is the Deccan Traps, the beginning of the end. The sky over ancient India is no longer blue. It is a bruised, sickly purple, choked by a constant haze of sulfur dioxide. Here, in the heart of the Cretaceous world, the environment is turning into a toxic pressure cooker. Massive fissures, some stretching for miles, have ripped across the landscape. They don't just smoke, they bleed. Molten basalt, white-hot and relentless, pours from these wounds in the earth. This isn't the fast-moving lava of modern volcanoes. These are flood basalts, slow, unstoppable rivers of fire that consume everything in their path. Forests of ancient conifers don't just burn, they vaporize. The heat is so intense that the air itself shimmers with a lethal distortion. Among the scorched ferns, a small herd of Isosaurus, massive, long-necked titanosaurs, moves with a desperate, heavy gait. Their lungs, once built to power giants, are now struggling. Every breath is a battle against the invisible killer, volcanic gas. The sulfur mixes with moisture in the atmosphere, creating a corrosive acid rain that stings their skin and withers the very plants they need to survive. The silence of the wasteland is shattered by a low, subharmonic rumble. It's not a roar of a predator, but the sound of a continent breaking. A new rift opens just hundreds of yards from the herd. The ground heaves, throwing the multi-ton giants off balance. White-hot fountains of lava spray hundreds of feet into the air, lighting up the permanent twilight of the ash-choked sky. The water sources are the next to go. Pristine lakes are turning into acidic cauldrons, cluttered with the bloated carcasses of fish and smaller reptiles that couldn't escape the chemical shift. The titanosaurs look toward the horizon, seeking a sanctuary that no longer exists. They are the masters of this world, but they are powerless against the chemistry of a dying planet. As the first 3 minutes of this apocalypse unfold, the heat is only rising. The Deccan Traps have only just begun to exhale their deadly cargo. But as the giants struggle to breathe, an even greater threat is forming in the darkness of the ash clouds, a forced migration that will lead them straight into a labyrinth of fire. Movement is the only law of survival, but 66 million years ago, the path was disappearing. What used to be lush, green migratory corridors are now a labyrinth of cooling obsidian and active fire. The instinct that has guided the great herds for generations is failing. For the tens of thousands of triceratops and hadrosaurs, this isn't just a journey anymore, it's a march through a furnace. The sound of the migration has changed. Gone are the booming calls of healthy males. They have been replaced by a chorus of wet, rasping coughs. The sulfurous haze from the Deccan Traps has traveled thousands of miles, settling over the plains like a heavy, invisible blanket. A massive herd of Edmontosaurus, nearly 5,000 strong, reaches the edge of what used to be a vital river crossing. But the water has gone. In its place, a slow-moving wall of basaltic lava, glowing a deceptive, dull cherry red, has filled the valley. The heat radiating from the flow is an invisible wall, pushing the giants back. A mother triceratops, her 3-ton frame trembling with exhaustion, nudges her yearling forward.
They cannot stay here. Behind them, the vegetation has already turned to gray ash, offering zero nutrition. To stay is to starve in the dark. To move is to risk the fire. The herd is forced into a bottleneck between two cooling lava ridges. The air here is a lethal cocktail of carbon dioxide and steam. As the massive animals crowd together, the panic begins to set in. One young Edmontosaurus, blinded by the stinging ash, stumbles toward a hidden fissure. The sound is haunting, the sharp hiss of organic matter meeting molten rock. The herd flinches, but there is no room to retreat. They are being funneled deeper into the volcanic wasteland. Suddenly, the rhythmic thud of the migration stops. The ground beneath the Triceratops' feet doesn't just tremble, it liquefies. A secondary vent, pressurized by the immense weight of the Deccan flows, ruptures just yards away. It's not an explosion, but a violent pressurized spray of boiling mud and gas. The alpha male of the herd bellows, a sound of pure primal terror that cuts through the roar of the wind. The herd breaks. The disciplined line of migration dissolves into a chaotic scramble for high ground. Dust, ash, and the smell of scorched scales fill the air. The giants are now scattered, separated from their kin by new rivers of fire that didn't exist an hour ago. They are lost in a world that no longer recognizes them. But as the survivors of the stampede gather on a precarious ridge, the heat from below becomes the least of their worries. The oppressive purple sky begins to tear open, not from the volcanoes, but from a blinding, unnatural light descending from the stars. The earth had already broken them. Now, the heavens were about to finish the job.
For thousands of years, the dinosaurs thought the enemy was beneath their feet. They were wrong. As the Deccan traps continued to bleed molten fire across the Indian subcontinent, a new star appeared in the northern sky. It grew brighter than the sun, a cold, piercing blue that cut through the thickest volcanic smog. The Earth was already in purgatory. Now the heavens were delivering the final blow. The atmosphere doesn't just part for the Chicxulub asteroid, it shatters. Moving at 40,000 miles per hour, the 6-mile-wide rock compresses the air beneath it so intensely that it becomes hotter than the surface of the sun before it even touches the ground. In the shadow of a glowing basalt ridge, a lone Tyrannosaurus rex looks upward. The king of predators, a creature that has never known fear, is frozen. Its reptilian eyes reflect a light that shouldn't exist. The impact is not just a sound, it is a global seizure. When the asteroid strikes the Yucatan, thousands of miles away, the energy released is equivalent to 1 billion Hiroshima bombs. The shockwave travels through the Earth's crust faster than the speed of sound. In ancient India, the Deccan fissures respond with prehistoric fury. The seismic waves trigger massive new eruptions, turning the landscape into a chaotic sea of liquid stone. Then, the sky goes silent. For a few brief seconds, the wind stops. The ashen cloud hangs suspended in the air. This is the breath before the world ends. Then comes the heat pulse. An infrared surge of thermal radiation sweeps across the planet. In the forests near the Deccan flows, the vegetation ignites spontaneously. Dinosaurs that survived the volcanic gases are now vaporized where they stand. The massive Edmontosaurus, already weakened by the sulfur, have no shelter from the sky that has turned into an oven. The shockwave finally arrives, a wall of air moving at supersonic speeds, carrying billions of tons of vaporized rock and soot. It collides with the volcanic plumes of the Deccan traps, creating a terrifying storm of fire and glass.
The giants are swept away like dust. The mountains themselves seem to liquefy under the pressure. The reign of the dinosaurs, which lasted for 165 million years, is dismantled in a matter of minutes by a combined assault from above and below. As the initial firestorm begins to subside, a new, more terrifying reality sets in. The fires have burned, but the sun is gone. The collision of asteroid dust and volcanic ash has created a veil that no light can penetrate. The world is about to go cold, and the survivors of the impact are about to face a nightmare that fire cannot cure.
The world did not end with a single explosion. It ended with a long, cold sigh. As the fires from the Deccan traps and the asteroid impact dimmed, a new and more permanent shadow crawled across the globe. The sun, the source of all life, was now a ghost, a pale, filtered disk hidden behind 1 trillion tons of soot and sulfur. The age of giants was over. The age of silence had begun. The environment is unrecognizable. What was once a vibrant Cretaceous jungle is now a graveyard of gray skeletons. The Deccan traps continue to pump toxic gases into the sky, but the heat they release is no match for the darkness. Temperatures plummet. Photosynthesis, the engine of the prehistoric world, has stalled. Without sunlight, the ferns and conifers wither. The food chain, once a complex web of power, is snapping at its very foundation. A lone triceratops wanders through a valley filled with 3 feet of volcanic ash. It looks for a patch of green, anything to fuel its massive body, but finds only bitter, acidic dust. Its breath comes out in thick plumes of steam. This is the impact winter. The sulfur from the volcanoes has mixed with the debris from the crater to create a veil that will last for decades. For the large dinosaurs, there is no escape. Their greatest strength, their massive size, has become their ultimate death sentence. They simply cannot find enough energy to survive the cold. The silence is broken by a strange sound, the delicate crackle of freezing water. For the first time in millions of years, snow, darkened by ash, begins to fall on the Indian subcontinent. A Tyrannosaurus rex, the former king of this purgatory, lies huddled in the lee of a cooling lava flow. It is not wounded by fire, but defeated by the cold. Its heart, once a powerful pump for a killing machine, slows down. As the snow covers its massive frame, the king closes its last eyes. The Deccan traps would continue to erupt for thousands of years, long after the last dinosaur took its final breath. They would reshape the continents and change the chemistry of the oceans. But the world they left behind was empty. The giants were gone, leaving only their bones to be buried under miles of basalt and sediment. Deep beneath the charred roots of the dead forests, however, something small is stirring. In the burrows where the heat of the earth still lingers, tiny fur-covered creatures are waiting. They are the heirs to a broken kingdom. The reign of the dinosaurs had ended in fire and ice, but the story of life was just preparing for its most unexpected chapter. The story of the Deccan traps reminds us how fragile our planet truly is. If you found this journey through the prehistoric purgatory breathtaking, hit the like button and subscribe to join our next expedition into the mysteries of the ancient world. What do you think was the true killer, the volcano or the asteroid? Let us know your theory in the comments below.